Welcome to The Ancient Way. I'm James.
I'm Marlia.
And today we have a very special guest, Sarah Cowan. Sarah, how are you?
I'm doing great. Happy
Good.
to be here.
Yeah?
That's good,
Yeah,
because we're about to get into it.
we are.
So I want to preface this before we get in fully into this. But Sarah has some incredible experiences, specifically with dreams. Like, she's like an avid dreamer, and I'll let her get into it. But so y'all should prepare yourselves. For those of you who like dreams and like to see those things really play out, she's got some really good ones. But we are starting with the best question that we ask all of our guests. Is Sarah, do you believe in life on other planets?
I've never put too much thought into that question. I think with some of those things, if it doesn't seem to draw me closer to God in relationship, then I don't think about it very much. So that's one of those that I haven't even wondered, like, will this bring me closer to you? And like, what's the answer to this? I do believe in life, other life forms and other realms, lives in those realms, but never thought about
dimensions.
Yes, dimensions. I've never thought about lives like a life on Jupiter or Mars, or I mean, to me,
what about like a life in another galaxy?
Yeah, I have thought about that. I mean, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an opinion or any deep thought about that. I've never dreamed about it either. So
Maybe you'll have a dream about it.
Yeah.
Give us a little insight.
That question's kind of open too. It's like life on other planets, like, will we one day inhabit the other planets, or are there other non-human life forms that live
on other planets
way out there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I liked, we had somebody else on the podcast who said that they, like, what if, because they haven't fallen, they're waiting for Earth to be redeemed before they enter in, before they come. Because we're supposed to be like all in a redeemed state. We're supposed to actually be like, like if they're in another dimension that's living in another universe.
Yeah.
They're just waiting. I don't know.
It is interesting.
You never know.
If he's the God of the universe, and the universe is of everything, of creation.
Like the plural.
Yeah. Who knows?
Well, I have thought about the stars being alive, and what that, but I've never thought about, like, what does that really look like, and what will it look like, and those kinds of things.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a thought that I've had. I don't know if there's anything to it, but I always wondered, like, what if humanity's, like, collective, I guess, consciousness, or the way that we believe or feel, or maybe even the states of our minds or our hearts, what if that, like, affects the weather and the climate and, like, the earth?
I totally think it would.
Like a shift. So if there was a shift in, like, light,
the collective,
then what would it look like? Do you think maybe things would be brighter?
100%.
Yeah, I mean,
if
what we speak, matters, becomes like physical reality, and I believe that can and does happen, then of course I think creation would change. You know, I mean, I've done crazier things, but I've gone and put my hand on the grass and commanded it to grow, and stuff like that. So if what we speak can change. And my grass is beautiful, by the way, now.
Interesting. I have a plant in the lobby.
You need to start praying over that thing.
On my way out.
Borderline. I just acknowledged it. I was like, oh, no.
That thing needs a little bit of living water.
But that is biblical, though.
It is.
All of creation is groaning, waiting for the sons of...
Well, if you think about all the opposite has already happened. Every region has kind of a culture, if you will.
Yes.
Like I would say in our area, it's a little bit of elitism. There's like a hierarchy. You've got like...
Sure.
Somebody told me this. I had no idea this was a thing. But did you know in this area, there's called old money and then there's new money?
Oh, yes, I knew that. Almost as soon as I moved here.
Oh, I did not know that. Somebody had to explain it to me because I was like, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, old money.
Yeah,
oil money, typically.
Oil money, who's been around since oil was struck. But that's the culture. That was like all the hearts had aligned into a hierarchy system and very separatist and very divisive. Yeah. And I think if people come back to the true light and the true like oneness, I think it would totally reverse this area. I don't think that principality over this area would not even exist.
Yeah. And I think maybe the opportunity of the oil, like historically, was a good thing.
100%.
Bringing prosperity to this area. You kind of look back at some of the history.
Oh, yeah. It preserved the, like, Tyler wasn't even attacked
the economy
by the
here.
Great Depression. Nobody really was affected by it. But anyways, okay, well, That's a good one. I'm
Yeah.
glad we got in on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah. So let's jump into it.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit of your story. Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Yeah. Who is Sarah Cowan?
What was your maiden name?
Williamson.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, solid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one too.
The son of William.
Yeah, son of William. Yep.
Oh.
It's my brother's Instagram handle.
Shut up.
It is.
Oh, that's funny.
And like the Lord gave him revelation about his name and everything. So it's really funny.
Yo, that is okay. I just have to
the
say
will
this.
of God. Yeah.
This is the third time this has happened today. I just say, not just today, but like yesterday. I never in my life have ever called Bexley turkey butt. And I was with a friend and her daughter, and I was like, Bexley, you little turkey butt. And they freaked out and they were like, oh, that's my secret nickname for my daughter. And I was like,
Wow.
I have never in my life called Bexley that. And then for that thing to just come out,
That's so funny.
I was like, that's weird. And
Yeah.
then this son of Williamson, I have
Oh,
never said
yeah.
that before in my
Mhm.
life.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, God gave him a revelation. My brother, like, this was probably a couple years ago, about who he is, and he's the son of the will of God. Like, and then I mean, it was several layers, and he called me on the phone. He was freaking out because my brother is really, he's not the freak out kind. You know, I am, but he's not. And he was like, "You probably think I'm crazy," and I'm like, "No, I don't."
Not even
But
a
even
little
like
bit.
the I am, you're the will of I am.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we just had a laugh about that because I was like, no, it's totally, like in my mind, it's totally normal for God to do something like that.
That's cool.
See, that's that thing James and I talk a lot about. Like when God breathes on something, it becomes a part of you.
Mhm.
And it's just like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened to your brother.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
Beautiful.
He's actually a big part of my story. So I grew up in a, quote unquote Christian home with wonderful parents who raised me going to church and all of those things. And they were open to the supernatural. Like I remember my mom, she would let me watch certain things, but not other things. But like, for instance, she let me watch like Harry Potter. So she
Mhm.
wasn't super strict.
Your mom is awesome.
I know. She
Yeah.
let me watch Harry Potter, but then she would be like, hey, just so you know, like never like play around with
Yeah.
like what they're saying. Like don't ever speak it. Don't ever like try to like pretend that you're like a witch
Like
or
the spells and stuff.
or try to do the spells just
Mhm.
for fun. She said, because you don't really know what you're saying.
Hmm.
And she was like, neither do I. And that stuff's real. And so she was,
Did you know that those are real spells?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, neither did my mom, but how wise is she?
Interesting.
Because she wasn't even really open to most of what she is now. Like my mom and my dad have changed so much over the years, along with the rest of my family and my sister.
Well, that's what real
My
Christianity
brother.
is, I
yeah,
think.
we've grown so much
Yeah.
and really have had a lot of our bubbles burst
Hmm.
in the best way. But yeah, so that was kind of my growing up. I actually, what has opened up my mind to the supernatural was dreams. I mean, from infancy, I've been having dreams, but it's been such a special thing because that's part of how like I was conceived. I know that sounds crazy, but my mom and dad weren't sure they wanted to have a third child. I'm number 3, and they were not trying or anything like that. But the Lord showed my mom that she was going to have a baby girl and she was going to have black hair and blue eyes, and like showed my mom exactly what she would look like. My mom is blonde.
Mm.
And my brother and sister weren't born looking like that or anything like that. But lo and behold, my mom knew. She said she just knew after that she was going to have a baby.
Mm.
And she found out very, very soon after that dream. I don't know how long after, but she found out she was pregnant with me. And I was born looking just like that. Black hair, blue eyes.
That's sweet.
Yeah, it is sweet. It's so sweet. There's so many layers to God's sweetness, but like he gave that vision to my brother about my first son, Elijah, who was born looking just like that.
Mm.
He had black hair, blue eyes, and he looked just like me. But then I was born, so the Lord used a dream to communicate my my coming into this world, and then I had dreams almost immediately. My mom has told me, and I've always known this, but even when I don't have recollection, that I had night terrors, like
Mm.
every night. And I was inconsolable. Like she would pick me up and I'd just freak out, like look at her like she was the enemy. Like it was totally demonic
Mhm.
what was happening. And she would take me to the doctor and, all these attempts to try to help me because I could not sleep. It was, she said, it was like tormenting me as a baby. But she said the thing that kind of stopped that, if you will, was she just decided as soon as I was asleep, she was going to stand over my crib and read scripture. Any scripture. She would just open it and just start reading over me. Like, I just love that about my mom because she wasn't grown. She was not raised in a Christian home at all. She had a really traumatic very traumatic childhood, and she had no tools
Mhm.
in her tool belt to know to do that, but she just did. The Lord led her to that, and I was free from those for a long time, for years.
I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
a lot of parents feel that way because I think a lot of kids have night terrors
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they don't know how to deal with it because I think it's very demonic. Like,
Oh yeah, it is.
I think all night terrors are like assaults from the enemy,
Yes.
especially on the young who are so pure
Mhm.
and not tainted in any way. But that's brilliant of your mom to just lean into the Lord.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's like,
two consistencies that I've noticed just from previous guests and even like our experience is like night terrors and darkness showing up at a young age
Yep.
to almost prevent you from walking in your destiny or
Yeah.
to kind of snuff it out or stop you. But then also parents, like these mothers who like prayed over you and kind of had that guard over you. Like you're not the first one, but it's just encouraging to me. My mom was the same way. She never let me watch Harry Potter, by the way. But
She
she
wasn't that-
always prayed for me,
Yeah.
even when I wasn't, so that's encouraging to
Oh
hear
yeah, my
that.
mother's a warrior. I mean, in so
That's
many
cool.
ways. I won't go into all of the things and how wonderful my father is as well. They're just so, and he was really the one who read scripture the most. And but I saw fight for me visibly, and I knew that she warred for me. And man, she was just such a lion of a mother
That's
for me.
awesome.
So yeah, she's pretty rad. But yeah, so I would say there's the dreams that has opened up my eyes to the supernatural, even through childhood. And when I got to high school, actually, I was still having dreams, and I just thought everybody dreamed like me. It wasn't something I ever talked about really. My mom has very meaningful dreams. She's had some blow your mind dreams as well. So I know it's in I don't know, I want to say in our blood, but it's in our lineage somehow. My family and this prophetic gift. So I see that now. I didn't then, but like for instance, in high school, I would have these very revealing dreams about this guy I was dating. He was just the sweetest guy, but he was taking some, he was making some really bad decisions I didn't know about, but the Lord was showing me what he was doing.
That's incredible.
And I was like,
That's that
15.
Ezekiel stuff.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like 15 years old, and I was having dreams about what he was doing and when and who he was with. I'd go to school the next day and approach the person he was with in the dream, and I'd be like, hey, how was this or this or this last night? And they would tell me exactly what I dreamed, and I had no idea. I was just taking a risk, and then I would know. So
Wow.
I found out about all the ways my boyfriend had lied to me. And
How sweet!
well,
how sweet of the Lord to
So
protect
sweet.
your heart.
For
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
And it may come in a really nasty manner, and you may see some things you don't want to see, but it's like protection.
Oh yeah, it was crazy how it would happen. And my friends, I'll even actually tell a story about one of my best friends in high school. It would blow her mind because I would tell her, like, it was so consistent. I'd be like, this is what I dreamed last night. Watch. And I'd go and, approach someone other than my boyfriend because he would lie to me to my face. And it would be revealed because they would just assume that I knew what had happened, the other friend involved. So anyway, she'd be like, that's not, so we would think it was crazy, but I didn't think anything other than, wow, I just have like cool dreams sometimes that actually like happened.
We're like real.
Yeah, they're
Like
like,
real life.
they happened. But now, as an
Okay,
adult.
I have a
Sure.
question for you. Do you think that you actually were in that space in the spirit? Do you think you traveled into that space to observe what was happening?
I don't know, because I don't remember those specific dreams anymore. It's been so long. I don't even recall the dreams. I just knew, now I just know that they helped me discover something that was hidden.
Yeah.
So they were just a revealing of the things that were hidden. So bringing the darkness to light.
Yeah.
And it really saved me, I think, it saved my life. The Lord was saving my life. That was a whole story in itself with that guy. So, yeah, like he was getting into really hard drugs, so it really saved me and protected me. And I know the Lord loves him too. And in fact, I still have dreams about him sometimes. And I know it's for me to intercede for him.
That's very
It's really
cool.
special. Yeah. Yeah. That's how it all began. So
I have a question. What's the earliest dream that you remember? If it's not, it doesn't have to be a night terror.
it was a night terror.
Okay, well, don't tell me.
Oh, let's do that though. I want to
Okay,
know the night
okay.
terror.
I was one of my first memories, actually. I don't know if I remember anything before this. It was a dream. It's my first memory. I don't know how old I was, probably 4. But I was stuck in a spider web. And I was just like stuck. And that's the main part is I was in the spider web and I was stuck in it. I just remember being so, like, it was so sticky. I couldn't get out. I was so scared. That was my first memory.
Wow.
Mhm.
The very thing, because you are called to release so much freedom over people, the very thing that the enemy tried to come and get you was to make you think you were trapped to something.
Yeah. And really, guys, I feel like Satan does this not just to me, but will use your, like, that gift. The gift that's most prominent that God wants to use most, like, in my life, and scare me so that I don't want them anymore.
Totally.
I don't even want to dream anymore.
Like, run away from it.
Yeah, I don't want to dream at all. I just, they're always bad, forget that. That kind of attitude is really what he wants, because then you're not even open to what God wants to show.
Yeah, like but what I was, too, but like you're stuck to these night terrors. Like you're always going to be in that thing versus like, no.
Yeah.
This gift that I have is to give people freedom.
Yeah, your destiny is to walk in total freedom.
Yeah.
That contradicts it.
Leading up to this podcast, I've had more night terrors than I have in a long time. Yeah, since you've asked me.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that, because it's been pretty damn witchy lately, honestly.
I had a dream that a lady in my dream last night called herself a witch.
Well.
Really?
And she was laughing at me and making fun of me and making life harder for me as I tripped and fell.
Do you want to know something? So, you know how I told you, like, I've kind of had a rough week this week too.
Yeah.
I was telling James, I kept seeing a black cat that would just show up out of nowhere. And then yesterday, or I guess it was Wednesday, I was going for a walk and this black cat like stared me down. Like, I really felt like I was like, we're going to buck up, dude. I thought it was a witch. And I was like, we're about to, because witches shapeshift.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody was wondering and they didn't know that, but they do. Absolutely, witchcraft shapeshifts. And like, that's well known in the occult.
Yeah.
I don't know why most Christians don't know this, but they don't. But no, literally, that cat stared me down, and it was the second day that I'd seen it, and I was like, this is because this thing is really trying to shut us down.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has got to be something really
special.
special.
It's been a trend, but that's what it means, though.
Yeah.
That's what it means. It's worth it to get it out there.
It is.
And
I had a dream, now that I think about it, the other night, real quick. I was here, but this guy came and started screaming at me in order to intimidate me, and that's the one that I screamed at him and made him leave, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, then after that...
You mean when I screamed in the natural?
Well, we were both screaming somewhere. But after that, in the dream, I went to sleep, and I was like, he's after me. There's retaliation. But then the Lord came in and said, don't worry about it. Go to sleep. Rest.
Oh, I love that.
So,
that is sweet.
But anyways.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. Oh, I just had one come to mind, if you don't mind me sharing. But you said, do you believe that you were actually there in that moment in the dream? Well, speaking of that, my brother and I, we have a soul tie. He and I have walked through so much, and my sister and I too. But my brother actually sparked this I don't know, I guess just my mind expanding, because he introduced me to someone named Dan Moeller, who has been such an influence in my life. Danny
is our boy.
Yeah, in 2017, you got to get him on here. But
well, so we put that in the sound waves just now. Okay, Dan, we're putting that out there.
Yeah.
Just such a sweet. I've actually met him, and he's like, he has light all around him. He's just such a joyful.
He is the same person on the videos that he is in person.
He's the real deal. He's just, he always says on his talks, like, well, what am I supposed to be? Of course I'm real.
Yeah.
But really,
his message is like, that's the most pure you can really find on the internet, really.
Yeah.
Wow.
So my brother, I had this dream that there was this man chasing me and my children, obviously demonic attack in pursuit. And I'm running and I'm carrying my children and just running and running and running. I was actually in my parents' yard, and I start screaming when normally I would yell, Jesus, Jesus. I start screaming, Garrett, my brother's name, Garrett, Garrett. I just start yelling my brother's name. And then the dream totally shifts after I call his name several times. And I look, and there's another man who's different. And he's just a man of peace, almost like not the Lord himself, but an angel of the Lord, someone who's embodying the Lord. And I felt so much peace and like complete rest. And the chasing and the attack was over. Well, I called my brother the next morning, and I told him, and he said, and I told him what time I woke up and everything from that dream. I looked at the clock, and he was like, I was praying for you and Emily, our sister, at the same hour. At that very moment, I was warring. He was like, I was up all night warring for you guys in the spirit and praying for you. And like my brother was in my dream, y'all. It was so crazy.
Wow.
That is so
warring
sweet.
for me. Yeah.
Dude, your
that's so
brother was
beautiful.
there.
He was there in real, like in reality, he was there with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so special. So dreams are so amazing, and they freak people out, especially some dreams that I've had. They really can freak people out. But the Lord is so good, and He uses them, and He uses them to save lives, to love people, to show me how much He loves me and others. And I'm just so privileged that this is a gift that He's given me, and that I even have started stewarding it.
Yeah.
I think that I'm going to hit on that real quick because I think that's so incredibly important. I think a lot of people are gifted, and their way of communication to the Lord is dreams. Because everybody dreams, everybody does. It's when you steward it. It's when you cultivate it. It's when you like value that is God speaking to me.
Yep.
You know, like, and I think we get hung up on like, well, I don't fully understand what it means, and there's so much symbolism and like all this stuff. It's like, well, just write them down.
Yes.
Just be faithful to write it down, and you'll see these things come out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a dream that, 5 years later, then it showed up. And then I was like, oh, that's what that means.
Yeah.
But I at least was faithful to write it down, even if it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And if you don't dream or you don't remember your dreams, just ask Him. That's always the go-to is like, just ask Him.
Yeah.
And He'll open it up for you, and then write them down. Get the first one, write
because
it down.
He programmed us, like on a scientific level, He programmed us to get into a REM cycle in which we dream.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, the filters of the world are out of the way. And it's
100%.
just open communication.
Yeah. It's an open playing field right there.
Absolutely.
Yes. I would say write them down. And just like you said, to ask if you don't have dreams and you want to have them, which I would recommend.
Yeah.
You want to have
Deeply.
them. Yeah. To start writing them down. Because I've had so many dreams over the course of my life, but I forget so many. And I couldn't possibly keep a record of everything I ever dream, but I've learned to write down the ones that really stick out to me. Some I wake up and I'm like, I've got to remember that, and I'll write it down. And others I don't write down right away because I don't think that they're significant for me. But if I continue to remember them and something jogs my memory, like later in the week, I'm like, I need to write that. That's the Lord saying, I'm reminding you about this. It's important. Write it down, even if it doesn't seem important to me. It's got to
cool.
be.
Yeah.
So
you know what I really like that James said this a couple of years ago, and I was like, that's brilliant. I don't know why I never thought of that. Probably because I don't think this way. But he writes the themes of all of them.
Yeah.
So he just tracks themes. And I was like,
cool.
That's so smart. Because then you're not writing all these diatribes. You're just doing themes of what.
Yeah. Just name them.
Yeah, like naming them and actually like pulling out the meat of it. Because that's the big thing about dreams is that there's like a theme to them. There's not, you don't always have to get hung up on in the details.
Yeah,
I think
totally
the details are important as you progress in it. But the Lord, I think, starts with themes. Starts with something very simple that people can just chew on, just a little bit, Because He doesn't force feed anybody.
No.
And He doesn't give you all of this stuff to, good luck, go figure it out.
And it's
Yeah.
an
Like little
honor,
by
and it's
little.
kind of fun to unravel it.
It is.
What He
Yeah.
gives you.
What is the proverb about? It's the glory of kings to seek out.
Mm-hmm.
Seek things out of the Lord, right? And it's the glory of the Lord to conceal things.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's
know,
it.
so
One thing that stood out as well is like our podcast, we talk about like the spirit realm and then the physical realm, how they intertwine and overlap. And so what got my attention about you and your dreams is you put practicality to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like even with the one when you were like 15 and the boyfriend, you went and like asked his friends like, hey, what did y'all, what was going on here? You tested it,
Yeah.
And you took it as like, okay, that's something, there's something there. And then even interceding for others when you have dreams about them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like an overlap right there.
Yes.
I'm
Do you
seeing
know
this. And
what
then
I love that wisdom led you in is that you didn't go after your boyfriend to be like, what are you doing? How are you getting in this? You just tested it by just being like, you went the other direction. Like you went in humility. You went in stealth mode of just like, hey, what do you what were you doing last night? Like, but you never went in out of the fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah,
you never went to
accusatory.
uncover your boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, the Lord. I mean, it's a gift, but at the time, it was so abused. I'm such a forgiving person, like profusely forgiving, and I literally will forget offenses, which I think is just so Jesus. And I don't want that to go away. But I had to go see a counselor over this guy because I could not stop forgiving him. And she was like, "It's okay, but you have to at some point you're not married to him. you have to be angry in a good way." Angry enough to say, no, this is not who I'm supposed to be, da 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 da. But yeah, for sure, I was humble about that and very forgiving, and didn't want to believe those things. But they were happening, and I'm thankful that God used dreams to protect me and my mom as well. Man, she was just amazing during that time. But yeah, so I have had dreams my whole life, and I started writing them down sometime around 2017 when my brother. He really had a major influence on me. He was like, "You got to start writing these down. If you steward them, you're going to get more of them. And if you steward them, you'll understand them more." Because I was so frustrated. I will comment on that. I have been so frustrated at different points, much less so now as the years have gone by my misunderstandings. Like, I want to understand these. I want to step out and do what God's telling me. And now I have a much more patient way of coming about them.
Maturity.
And I can write them down, and if I have no revelation about them, at least they're written down. And like I wrote one down about my brother that's back here somewhere. I have this big notebook in front of me. The listeners can't see it, but of all my dreams about my brother and my family and some things that were going to happen, and it looked terrible. But at the end of, there was literally a car accident that my mom and I were watching, and after all the wreckage and like the fire, my brother was in this car where he had landed on top of these high rises. And my mom was just freaking out. And I told her, I said, "Just say Jesus. Just say Jesus." Those are my favorite dreams, when I'm actually like faithful in the dream. Like, no, and I'm like warring in the spirit. And after all like the rubble and the smoke and everything cleared, I saw my brother, my sister, and her husband, all three of them emerge from the wreckage, smiling and walking. And that's very significant because my brother's in a wheelchair. He's been paralyzed after a car accident, which was actually witchcraft in itself. We probably won't get into that today, but and so I had a revelation about that, and I wrote it down. My revelation was, you know what? This lady that was driving that vehicle that my family members were in, my brother and my sister and her husband, she was the old nature driving their vehicle. And she was like falling asleep, and she was so old, like in the dream. I just remember being like, she's too old to drive. But she represented the old nature, the flesh, and driving their life, the driving influence, the driving force. And even if that did come to pass, because I interceded afterwards that wouldn't come to pass, but even if it did, the Lord has the final say on their lives. And no matter what my brother chooses, my sister chooses to do going forward from that dream, the Lord has the victory already. He's already proclaimed what's going to happen in their lives. They're already His. So regardless of their choices, like they're stamped. They're like, the healing will be there. The joy will be there. There will be no harm from this, if it does come to pass. So I've been actually seeing this play out recently, and I've been praying for my brother. And this dream was in 2020 when I had that dream. And the Holy Spirit, who's so good, He brings things to our remembrance, reminded me of that specific dream in the car. And I started freaking out with my kids in the back. And, they're used to this. They're not freaking out or anything. But I was like, thank you, Jesus, because I'm remembering that dream. And I'm like, I see what's happening now.
He's emerging?
No, not quite. But He will. I see what's happening now. And I know already the ending.
Yeah.
So regardless, as I intercede, and in the note of that dream, I said, but I'm going to hold hands with Jesus and fight for my brother. I'm going to fight for him. And that's what I've been doing. And now the Lord's saying, this is what you are doing right now. And you're seeing it play out. I've shown you what's going to happen, and it is happening now. And now you know how it's going to end. So, it's such an intimate thing for me and the Lord, because no one else can share that with me. I mean,
totally.
You guys are now, but I don't usually share my dreams with other people. They're so intimate. It may not resonate with others like it does with me. So
yeah. Well, it's like the depths of you connects to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that, dude. And I think what's beautiful is, like, the Lord will even give you what He did, like, the end game. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this thing's actually going to happen. What is that scripture? There's a scripture in Hebrews that says, when you call things that are not as they are.
Mhm.
It's like, that's exactly what you've been doing all along.
Yeah.
Like in the natural, it doesn't seem like it's like this, but you've been declaring this thing
Mhm.
over your brother this entire time. And it's like, you've just been faithful to make this thing that hadn't been
Mhm.
come forth.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's what is now happening. It's beautiful,
Yeah.
man.
Yes.
Well, that's the judgment. Let there be light and like
Yeah.
wholeness, you
Mhm.
know? So
Yeah.
declaring that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, it creates the clearing.
Yeah.
It creates even the old things to pass away
Mhm.
Mm.
and letting the
Yeah.
new come.
Absolutely.
And what an honor it is to partner with the Lord in it.
I know it.
Like, we get such a privilege to get to join in doing this
It
Mhm.
is such a privilege and an
Yeah.
honor, and yeah,
and to see people come out of
Yes.
these things.
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's like, oh, I actually had a hand in that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it's like, whoa, me, but like, holy cow.
Well, that's what we do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very humbling.
We're-
It's humbling when you actually get to be a part of that thing.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. To participate in it.
Mhm.
It is an honor.
It's exciting. It's like life is such an adventure
Mhm.
when we
Yeah.
actually want to hold hands with Jesus and like do like he's not going to make me do anything.
Mm-mm.
He can show these amazing things to me, and for a long time I never held his hand and ran with him because I didn't know. You know, it was just ignorance. It wasn't willfulness or anything like that. But you can choose not to. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the beauty of his love. He's like, I'm not going to make you do this, but
Yeah.
if you do, it's going to be so much fun.
Mhm.
That's why I tell my kids, like, life with Jesus is an adventure every single day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Every day is new and different, and it's fun. It
Yeah.
really is. It's not scary. It's beautiful,
Oh yeah.
and I love it. It's
It's
freedom.
an invitation. He has that. It's his invitation to us.
Yeah,
And then if we accept it, then yeah, it's an adventure. And
totally.
it's freedom and it's endless, really. Limitless.
Yes, and it's so multi-dimensional,
Mhm.
and I like see folds. There's like folds. So like when I step out in faith and do something that I feel like is the Lord and his leading, he's like, now I get to show you how much I love you and this other person.
Mhm.
And it's just like there's so many different sides to his wisdom. It's just so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you prayed for healing for that kid and then he actually got healed.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I mean, that's not
yeah.
about dreams, but by God,
No,
like that was
Oh, for sure. It's
dope.
amazing. Yes. I've seen a few cool things like that, but that was the most recent thing that I think is mentionable is there's I teach at a university locally, and I do have dreams about my students sometimes. I have dreams about people that are close to me in proximity, or I have some level of intimacy with, like, you know, my best friends from even high school, or like my husband, obviously, my children, obviously, my family, but my neighbors,
Yeah.
like my physical neighbors. I've had so many dreams about the people who live closest to me. Excuse
That's
me.
cool.
It's
Yeah.
really cool because I've seen neat things happen with that.
Aw.
But yeah, this,
Talk about getting to cultivate the space that you live in, though,
Mhm.
and like literally affecting
Mhm.
your neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
When you get intel on them,
Yeah. Even if they don't know it, that's really sweet.
it is.
You know, I joke that, you know, I like to rollerblade, and I got some rollerblades just a few years ago. I finally just like manned up and was like, I'm getting these. I don't care how I look anymore, you know? And I got these and I just whip around my neighborhood. And my neighbor that I've had the same neighbor across the road for a long time. And I went on my rollerblades, and I joke that God can use anything to reach people, right? I feel like my rollerblades reached this neighbor because I started talking to him, and we've known each other for a long time, but I just struck up a conversation, got to talk to him about something, learned some things about his life that I didn't know, and decided to, you know, it was just Jesus. You know, you can't explain some of these moments that you share with people, but just like the prompting that you feel and the almost like emotional response that I felt to speak life into him and pray over him and his daughter, over, you know, protecting her and some things that I, you know, just from what he told me, I felt led to pray, and he let me. Like I asked if I could, and he let me, and he was teary-eyed, and he's like this bald guy, this like BMX dude. He's like super tough. I love him. We have a good friendship now. At the time we didn't, and he teared up and walked inside, and I just thought, well, that was really cool. And soon after that, I learned that he was an atheist. I actually had started dreaming about him after that encounter. I had dreams about him, and I'd call him over to my yard and I'd tell him. And he was like, wow. And like, you know, this is totally out of his wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Totally totally not something he's familiar with and totally new. And I could just see him really taking like a step back and be like, okay, processing this, but also because I have a relationship with him now, he was more open to what I was saying. And I told him during that conversation, this might sound bizarre, but I was like, I love you. I was like, I see you. I know who you are now. And I'm getting emotional now, but I was like, I couldn't see you before. And I said, but that was when I was living for me. And I said, but Jesus has changed my life and I don't live for me anymore. So I can actually see you, man. And I told him about this dream and about like what God revealed to me about him, how he's a good man. And he serves people. And, there's all these amazing things about my neighbor that I didn't know about him. And he started crying. And he had actually broken his arm at this point. And I was like bringing him food. And, so there's so many ways that we can love people. And so I was bringing him food. He's a single dad. And he was like, can I hug you? I'm like, yeah, of course, man. So then he was like, I'm an atheist. As if that was going to shock me or throw me off. He told me that. And I was like, that's okay. He was like, but he said, but that day you prayed for me. And he said his daughter's name. He was like, I really walked away questioning what I believe. And for me, I walked in and I just melted and in my house thinking, Lord, I had no clue. Like I had no clue that's what he was experiencing. But Jesus' love is so good. We can touch people that we've had contact with for years or that we just met. And I love it. I love it.
It's like you just imparted the heart of Jesus to this man.
Yeah.
It's like you just put that inside of him, but
Yeah.
it touched it in him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I normally don't just be like, I love you.
Yeah.
I do more so now, but that was new for me. But yeah, I've had so many sweet things like that.
And that was probably specific to his person to hear that.
Yeah.
No doubt. No doubt.
Everybody's different, but that's incredible.
I continue to have them for him. And
that's flipping beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
I have a couple of cool things that I wrote down. I don't know how we are on time.
Oh, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
Share
go into
them.
these things.
Yeah, I have a couple that I think are really neat and special. I have a lot of dreams about people with pregnancy. That seems to be a theme when I pray for someone who can't have a baby.
Man, don't pray for me.
Yeah, you better be careful.
I'm just kidding.
I've had several dreams. If the Lord, I know now, I'm so confident, and it might sound cocky, but it's not. If the Lord shows me that a woman is going to be pregnant, I can pretty much guarantee it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know a timeline unless he tells me, but I can.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, it has happened. It has come to pass. So these next couple of stories are going to be about things that have come to pass.
Yes. Sorry, let's cut
They've
that.
already happened. So I have a childhood friend. She was my best friend in high school. She was the one that like saw these things with the dreams, right?
Mhm.
She's my friend forever. I had 2 of those actually. Well, for her, my mom, she's a very private person. And I respect her privacy. I'm not going to give away any identifying information about anybody today, but she did not tell me, but she had miscarried at the same time I was carrying my second child. She had miscarried, and my sister was getting married, and she was supposed to be at this wedding. And I was in the wedding, but I was going to be pretty pregnant at that time. And I didn't know why she didn't come. Like I wanted to see my old best friend so much because we don't live close by anymore. We don't keep in touch super well, or we hadn't at that point. So I missed her. So I mentioned it to my mom, and she said, well, this is, private information, but she miscarried pretty far into her pregnancy, considering, how people usually might miscarry early. She miscarried pretty late. It was pretty shocking. They took it really hard. And I was like, I did not know that. I had no clue. And so I was like, here we go. I was like, Jesus. And I just interceded for my friend in many ways, but I was like, give her children. So that was my prayer, just in different ways. Like, yes, like I know you're going to do it because you love her. Sometimes you get, at least for me, when I pray, I'm so confident. I'm already thanking him because I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just feels different.
Yeah.
So I was just praying for her, interceding for her every so often whenever I thought of her.
Do you think that it's different because you're actually connecting to the Lord's true desire for her that he wants to actually release, but he's just using you as like the conjugate to like release it out?
Yeah,
Just speak it
for
out
sure.
into existence.
Yeah.
And just involving me in the process.
Yeah.
Totally.
Because I already have and in with her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he could have just gone ahead and given her a baby, but it's different when he involved me, and I'll tell you how. So I'm having these dreams, and I'm starting to text her, "How are you doing? Da da da." I have a dream that she is pregnant, and then I have another dream that she's pregnant, and I'm seeing some things about her, like in this quiet space. She's alone. She's in this inner room where people are celebrating for her, but she's in a private inner room, and that's just her personality. She's just in this quiet space by herself. Doesn't like to surround herself with too many people. And then I had the final dream, which I saw her pregnant, but she was 12 weeks on the money. She was 12 weeks pregnant. And that's when I texted her, and she never responded. And so 2 days later, because I texted her, "How are you feeling?" Because she had no idea I was praying for her, because I wasn't going to violate her privacy like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to check in and see how she was feeling. She didn't respond. So 2 days later, I texted her again. "Hey, I've been thinking about you. I had a dream about you. How are you?" And that's when she texted, "I am actually pregnant. I'm 12 weeks pregnant." And it was perfect, on the money. She was pregnant 12 weeks, and she was like, "We just started telling people." And I called her, and I was just, we don't communicate much, me and this old friend, but I called her, and I was like, "Wow." She was like, "You're more excited than I am." And then she told me why. I told her about these dreams I had had about her baby, and that God showed me that I've been praying. And she said, "I'm so scared."
Mm.
And man, after this moment, I really took a step back and was like, should I have done that? But this is my response to that. It was like an angel speaking through me. This is how he speaks in the scripture. She said, "I'm so scared though." I said, "Do not be afraid. He is going to see that this baby's going to make it through." And I said, "This baby's going to live. Like, this baby is the will of God. It will live. You don't have to worry. Don't be afraid." And I was just like, bam,
Wow.
bam. Like, I was so loud and so bold. And when we got off the phone, I was like, what did I just do? Like, who do I think I am? But it was so much him
Yeah.
that I was like, that didn't even seem like me. It wasn't.
And self-consciousness comes out back
Yeah.
once you're out of that
Yes,
vein.
yes.
Yeah.
But that baby now, he's almost 3.
Aw.
And
sweet.
yeah, he's almost 3. And not only that, I had last December, so December 2020, right around my birthday, I had a dream that she had another baby, and it was a girl. And I was so happy that I cried, and I texted her the next day and told her. And she doesn't find out the gender. Like, she didn't want to know the gender, but I was like, I saw your baby. I saw the gender. And she was like, "Well, what was it?" And I said, "It was a girl." A week later, she said, "I'm pregnant." She said, we didn't even know. You texted me before I knew. She was like, "I'm 5 weeks pregnant. I just got pregnant."
Wow.
That's incredible.
And she had a girl. So,
Wow.
Things like
love
that
it.
are so cool, right? And now this friend is texting me. She was like, "I have dreams too." And she's like, how did you, like, she wants to grow now. Like, how
Yeah.
did you know, like, that you have meaningful dreams? Like, what should I do? And I'm telling her, write them down. And she's like, "And I dream about you a lot." And so we have
Aw.
this tie. She's like my sister from another mister, and she's like, when I had an infection, I just had tonsillitis. She had a dream that had an infection on my right side, and that's where it was. So and that's so neat.
How
love
he
it.
connects, how
Yeah,
he connected
connects
y'all,
people.
relationship. And that's
Yeah.
what he's about.
It's like the thing that you choose to move in your gifting
Mhm.
will bring out somebody else's gifting. It
Yeah.
sparks it,
Uh-huh.
and it will catch on fire.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like you imparted that to her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for her, I just think there was so much fear tied into this new life that was coming. It was so from the
Mhm.
enemy. It's trying to snuff out her joy.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so something that the Lord kept trying to speak to her, and so sweet, was, "I love you."
Yeah.
Like, and I would tell her, "I am not special." Like, I would, say her name. "I'm not special in any way that you aren't. Like, he's only telling me this because he knows I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
He wants to speak to you. He's speaking to you. He loves you." And so now I think it's just an opening of like, yeah, I think he does,
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that one has been a really cool one and really personal one for me and this sweet friend of mine. And then I've had some other ones. But did y'all have any questions or anything before I?
Oh, I want you to keep sharing. These
Yeah,
are literally my
that's good.
favorite. I love how much the Lord just wants us to partner and
Mhm.
then be connected to each other.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah. He did that. He
He
connected
totally
y'all.
did that.
And to him. It's just
Mhm.
like, always about connection and relationship with him.
And it's about life.
Yeah.
Like, think about the valuing of life above all else. You
Yeah.
know, like you value the life in her and then even literally the life she was bringing forth.
Mm-hmm.
Like he always wants to speak to that.
Yeah.
If you think the first person to even recognize the Lord Jesus was John the Baptist in the womb,
So
like,
precious.
he was the one that leapt for joy. So
Yeah.
like the Lord honors that life. He honors that thing that's even coming forth. And I think that's even why, because I've had dreams about people in that, like pregnancy and all of that,
Yeah.
and things coming forth. And anyways, I think that's what it's so, like there's so much to that.
Yeah.
But anyways.
That's neat. I've never had dreams about other people
being pregnant
ever. But I did before Kyla was born.
It's probably because you can't get pregnant.
I can't. You're right.
I'm just kidding.
Have you
You're
ever
right.
like prayed for someone to get pregnant? That's
No,
usually
I
when I have
haven't.
them. So I don't have them unless I pray
it would
for
make
it.
sense though in a situation like that. I would.
So I have this has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just stop making it about me and make
It's
it more
not-
about Sarah.
You don't make it about you.
No, but me and a friend of mine, there was actually a girl who'd come to her. I was pregnant at the time. And there was another girl who had 2 children at this time. And she came to us and she was like, hey, we can't get pregnant for whatever reason. I just can't get pregnant. And I'm so afraid. I'm too old. She was like 35 or 36 and like just really afraid. And I was like, hey, let's pray for you. Let's go after this thing. So I pray over her that like her womb would be open and that this gift that the Lord has called us all to, which I believe is to have kids and have family and value that. Anyways, we prayed over her and that month they got pregnant. That month, literally.
Wow.
We found out like 2 months later.
Yeah.
But when we started mathing it out, we were like, oh my gosh, it was right after we prayed for that thing.
Wow.
Anyways.
So cool.
Yeah, but I think the Lord really values life.
He does.
I mean, he is.
Yeah, I would say
he
so.
Is life.
He is
Yeah,
life.
well, that's
He
kind of
created
the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's people. I knew that Kyla was going to be a girl before she was born, and I wasn't even like walking in anything, you know.
Yeah.
But I knew, and I had like we played together in my dream, and then from that point on, I just knew she was a girl before anything.
You know, Zach
Just
had a
knew
dream
it.
about Bexley 3 years before we ever had Bexley.
Oh, really?
No, 2016 he had a dream about Bexley. So, and she was born in 2020. So.
Oh wow.
That she came and sat on his lap and undid his mouth, like allowed his mouth to be opened and begin to speak.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, yeah. But to see our lives and how it played out, that's exactly what happened.
Oh,
Wow. That is beautiful.
Huh.
Yeah. He literally can articulate things now that he's not really been able to give language to, but Bexley opened something up for him.
Wow.
But the Lord gave him that 4 years prior.
Wow.
And we didn't even want kids at the time, to be honest.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Speaking of kids, I mean, I have a couple other different things, but my oldest already, I can't tell with my youngest, he's only 3. My oldest already has dreams. I mean, like blow your brains dreams. Like I have one that I bookmarked here because I thought I might share it, and I will. But I was driving in the car and he was like, I had a dream last night. You know, he's behind me. I'm like, okay, cool. I always love hearing about them. I encouraged him. And in fact, at one point, he might have been 3 or 4. I taught him what I do because he was like, what are you writing down? And I just showed him like, this is what I write down and how. And then I said, if I feel like anything in my dream reminds me of the Bible, I'll go to the Bible and I'll read it. And so that's what we did. Like one day I showed him what I did and how we pray about it. Like, Lord, show me more. And so he's like totally open. He was like, okay. And he was only like 3 or 4 at the time. But man, this kid, something else. So
Wow.
Elijah is his name. But anyway, Elijah told me in the car this one day, this was back in June. He said, Mommy, I dreamed that a bear was chasing me and you last night. We were running away, Mommy and me. And, you know, he's saying this in his own language. And I wrote it down this way, though. He said, and God was with us. He said, I wasn't afraid because God was with me. And he said it really excited. And he said, God had white hair. Because I said, God was with you. Like, what? Okay. You know, I tried to be calm. But I'm like, what did he look like?
I'm on the edge of my seat, but
Yeah.
I'm
A little starstruck
Yeah,
there.
I just tried to take it slow.
Wow.
But he said, well, God had white hair. and I was inside of him.
Wow.
hmm He said he had water spouting out of his belly.
Wow. John 4.
Yeah.
He said, then me and Mommy and Jesus ran through a tunnel, and then I was driving a blue race car.
Wow.
Even that's prophetic
Isn't
because
that
blue is revelatory.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is to me. Like it's a
Yeah.
revelatory car.
Wow.
I mean, but what he described was a white hair, a white beard, but he was inside of the
Yeah.
Lord. And like, I totally believe that that's where we are. That's where we were before we were here. And that's where we're going to be in some capacity.
Yeah.
Well, that's even in John 15, like abide in me and as I abide in you. Like
Yeah.
not only are we in him, but he's in us. It's that
Yeah.
golly though.
Isn't that so wonderful? Like, and now I ask him all the time about his dreams. Right
Oh,
now,
yeah.
it's mostly he's just making stuff about dinosaurs, but
Yeah.
Well, it's probably there too.
There's something so pure about it coming from your kid, though.
yes,
You know?
it is.
Yeah.
So
I've been the
unassuming.
same
He's not
way.
trying to impress me. He was just like very matter of fact,
Yeah.
like,
That's just it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was inside of him and there was water spouting out of his belly. And that's
Oh
when I
my
was like,
God. Yeah, that's
I
profound.
write this down.
I mean, that's incredible
neat?
though. I was trying to find that scripture. I'm pretty sure that it says that Jesus's hair was like
White. Oh,
White.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
It's
that's
in
in
Revelation,
right?
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. His hair is as
I was
white
trying to
as
find
sheep's
the-
wool or snow.
I wanted to actually put the scripture reference out there though.
We can. Hold on. Let's pull it up real quick.
We'll find it somewhere.
It's in the very beginning of Revelation. It's when John sees the Lord.
Yeah.
He sees the lampstands and the gold sash around his waist and all those things. I have meditated on that actually just
Here it
to.
is. Revelation 1:14.
Oh yeah. I
We'll
just
pull
found
up. Okay.
His head and hair were white like wool,
Mhm.
as white as the snow, and his
Mhm.
eyes were like flames of fire.
Yes.
Oh, I love this. And his voice as the sound of many
Rushing
waters.
Yes,
Wow.
many waters.
There you
That's
go.
so brilliant, dude. So
My
brilliant.
4-year-old had that dream. He
Mhm.
wasn't even 5 yet. He
Yeah.
was 4.
Wow.
This is why I fully believe, which James and I have talked about this often, but the kids' quote unquote imagination really is the screen to see into the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just that they're using, it's just their imagination.
Yeah.
They're just daydreaming. It's like, no, these kids are seeing things.
They're seeing
There's
things.
something extremely pure and undefiled about
Yes.
it. All
Absolutely.
the way.
Absolutely.
And like even babies,
Mm-hmm.
watch them.
Kids
you
see.
know, when they're just like laying
Looking
there,
around,
looking
yeah.
around and stuff.
Oh, I've got a story about that.
Okay.
Bexley and I were out eating, right?
Uh-huh.
And Bexley could not take her eyes off of this. And Bexley's like 9 months at this time, maybe 10 months. And she's captivated by this girl. Mind you, my daughter doesn't normally do that. If anybody's met her, she's like on crack. Like she's just all over the place. She doesn't
Yeah.
sit still. She doesn't stare at something long at all. But I'm watching her and she's just following this girl around at the restaurant. Just anywhere she goes, she's captivated. So I'm a little slow to the game. And so I was like, oh, Lord, what do you have? Because clearly she's seeing something. You know, it took me like, 30 minutes. But anyways, I ended up having a word. The Lord like gave me a word for this girl. Well, she starts crying when I share the word with her. And she like grabbed my hand and goes, thank you so much for coming in today. And it was the weight of it. She really like felt the word that I gave her. But I would never have checked in with the Lord, to be honest,
Yeah.
if my daughter hadn't
Wow.
Yeah.
if my daughter hadn't spotted her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is Bexley watching?
Yeah.
What I guarantee you Bexley saw the angels that rolled into that to that restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But
That is crazy.
for me, it really struck like how much we should honor the Lord in every single person.
Oh, yeah.
No matter if they're 10 months
Absolutely.
to 100 years old.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Like the Lord speaks through all people.
Yep.
And so it's honoring the God. I think there's a scripture too that Jesus says, you will not see me again until you say, whoa. What
Talk
was
about
that?
talk about stuff. Yeah.
Did y'all feel that witchcraft? That was like an earthquake of witchcraft.
I just kicked something important. I'm so sorry.
No, it wasn't.
Oh. Are we good?
I thought the Lord just showed up and I missed it. I thought the rapture happened.
Well, if that would have happened, our clothes would have been like folded
Yeah,
nicely
folded
in
perfectly
the
in
chairs. So we're good.
I'm still here, guys. We're okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
we're okay.
That scripture that Jesus said. He says, "You will not see me again until you say, 'Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.'"
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, not until you fully recognize God within other people
Mm-hmm.
are you going to be able to see the fullness.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to recognize stuff, or even Him?
Oh
you know.
gosh.
Anyways,
It's another scripture. Okay, what is it? The one about seeing the angels see His face. Did we go over this earlier?
are you
I've
talking
got
about
But the children,
the children?
Maybe. I'm gonna butcher this.
their children see
The
the face
fathers.
of the Lord. Yeah. I mean, they're angels, I should say. Their angels see the face of the Lord. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, here it is. It's loading.
Technology, buddy.
I know it. 5G. And I lost it.
Well, I'll tell you. The other day, we were at this ranch house in Blanco, Texas. We were having a little family vacation, and I was up early. I couldn't sleep, so I was just praying there. And my children were actually laying in a bed next to me. And after I prayed for, I guess, just 5 minutes or so, my 3-year-old, I did not know who was awake. He was awake. He just said out loud, he goes, "I see Jesus in my eyes."
Oh,
I thought he was sleeping. It was so great.
wow.
It's Matthew 18:10.
Yeah, I just pulled it up finally.
Okay, you want to read it?
Takes me forever to find these. I can read it.
Okay.
Or you can read it. I don't care. Okay.
You have the good voice, remember?
Yeah, the reading voice. "See that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I tell you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven."
It's brilliant, man.
Yeah. Seeing that in everyone.
I bet that means that they be seeing them angels too.
Yeah.
It's
I
good.
love that. You got any other good stories?
Yeah.
I know you do.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Okay, so this next one is, I think is one of the coolest. I actually, when I went to get us coffee, Marley, I saw the guy that this story is about at the coffee shop. Yeah, and I even told him, I said, I might even talk about you today. And we had a little joke about, I'm not gonna tell you where he lives or his name or anything, but it was just funny running into him there. I haven't seen him in a while.
That he charged you $15
No, it
for
wasn't.
16 coffees?
No, he wasn't working there. He just happened to be there at the coffee shop.
Sorry, $15 for 2 coffees?
Yeah, $15 for 2 coffees. They taste delicious though. It tastes better. So I had gone to this. I was pregnant with my second child. I remember that, but I'd gone to this mutual friend's house party. They were just having like I don't know. They had like a fiesta every once in a while or something. They invite lots of different people from their life. So I would always meet somebody new there. Just lots of friends showing up and lots of new people. So I saw this guy sitting by himself on the couch, and at least for me, I just looked up and I was like, something's going on there. Just like there's something dark going on. He did not look okay to me. So other people, he might have just looked like a guy chilling on the couch. But I decided to sit down and talk to him. And I just struck up a conversation, and he wasn't really into it. He was pretty short with his answers, things like, "What's up? What's your name?" And he would be just really short. I'm like, "Well, how are you doing?" And he was like, "I'm not doing okay, actually." Just very blunt, was not trying to sugarcoat anything, but did not really want to talk about what was going on. So I was like, okay, I got the hint. And I moseyed on away from that conversation after a couple of minutes. And then that night, I just hit it. I hit my knees on the floor. And I remember I would wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, just anytime I thought of him, I was just really fighting for him in prayer and interceding for him. However the Lord saw fit, he would lead me in prayer, and I would pray for this guy I didn't even know. I had just met him. And so I didn't see him for a while, but I started having a series of dreams about him. I had one of the first dreams I had about him. I was looking for him. And do you know, like in like the old Pizza Hut or something, there's like a swinging door where the employees can come in and out. There's like a circle window.
Oh, yeah.
I love Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut, classic.
Yeah.
I pushed that door open, and I saw him sitting in a room by himself, but his knees were curled up to his chest. He was hugging his knees and rocking back and forth in the dark by himself. And I just remember sitting, like standing there and just watching him do that, like feeling the pain, seeing the pain and the loneliness that he was in. That was the first dream of several. One of the dreams after that, I saw him climbing a mountain. I saw the shoes that he was wearing. They were inappropriate shoes for the mountain. I saw the backpack he had on. He had a brown, like, satchel backpack. There were so many details that I knew were important. I wrote them down. Sometimes they're not, significant in some way, but this was. I knew exactly what that backpack looked like. In fact, I opened it up and I saw the contents inside, and they represented women from his past. The things like you've like fingernail polish or lipstick, a cigarette, things like that. And I saw him on top of the mountain. And then I had another dream where I saw him running. And actually, Daniel Kalinda was in that dream too, which is, I don't know if y'all know who that is. You can look him up later, but Reinhard Bunke.
Oh, yeah.
Daniel Kalinda stepped in and took his spot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For Christ for All Nations.
Yeah.
But anyway, Daniel Kalinda was in that dream, and this other guy was in this dream, but I saw him at a counseling, like he was being counseled by somebody. And then I saw him running, like he had started running, like jogging, and my husband's a big runner. In fact, he's a coach. So I had maybe a couple more, something like that. I wrote them down, and I carried this notebook around because I was like, Lord, I'm not reaching out to him. I know you want me to talk to him and tell him about this stuff. Like, it's very specific. I'm not reaching out to him, though. I had just decided I didn't want anything to come across the wrong way, any confusion, no boundaries being crossed, whatever. And, other times I'm like, I love you. I tell someone that. But for this, I felt like I can't. Like, you have to bring me to him or him to me, something like that in a public place. So I didn't reach out to him because you can find people on Facebook, right? But I waited and I just carried this thing around with me, this dream notebook. Sounds like I'm a little crazy at this point. But I went to this coffee shop that I was just at one morning, and I had this notebook with me, and in he walks. Now, the funny thing is, the last dream I had about him was of him running. Well, he was not a runner at that time, but he had just gone to my husband's free practice that he was advertising. Anybody could go. My husband's a running coach on the side, and so this guy that I dreamed about showed up to one of my husband's practices, and they didn't know each other. So he had started running.
In the natural.
In the natural, he had started picking up running, which is what I had the last dream I'd had. So I came up to him and I was like, I was just in my heart. I was like, I'm going to sound like a crazy lady, but I'm going to go for it. I was like, this has got to be it. So I was like, hey man, my husband said that you're at the practice this morning. How'd it go? He told me. I said, this sounds crazy, but I have something to share with you. Do you have time to like sit down for a second here in this coffee shop? And he was like, okay. Pulled out my notebook and I was like, so you ever heard of anyone having dreams? He was like,
how do you lead in with this thing?
So I just started telling him, look, that I met you. I don't even know if you remember. It was a year and a half prior to this moment. And I started praying for you. I felt like you weren't okay. And I started interceding for you. And then I started having dreams about you. And I wrote them down because they're meaningful and God speaks to me this way. He was like, okay. And he was open. He wasn't weirded out. He was like, okay. He was really gracious about it, actually. So I flipped my dream notebook open and I start reading to him these dreams. And the first one was about him alone with the rocking. As soon as I said that, he started to his face was drenched in tears. Just this grown man who's, poised. He's not, I had never seen him act, emotional in public or anything, but he was just at this table crying. He just started sobbing. And as I kept going on with these other dreams, I check in, are you okay? Because he kept crying. And he was like, yeah, I'm okay. And he would wipe his tears and he would tell me to proceed with the other dreams. And
okay, hold on.
And then I told him about the one with the mountain and the backpack and the shoes and what I saw. And he was like, this is crazy. And he starts pulling out his phone and starts like thumbing through his phone. He was like, I just have to show you. And I was like, okay. So he thumbs through his phone and gets this picture up. And it's this picture of him on top of a mountain with a brown satchel backpack. I don't remember if it was the same shoes, but he was on this mountain with that backpack.
Wow.
And the caption that he had put on it was something about carrying this heavy load, like trying to lighten this heavy load. That was on the picture that he had put on. And so he had then revealed to me that he had struggled with depression, really, really hard stuff. And was struggling with a previous relationship that had gone wrong, and he was, felt like there was injustice there, and just started sharing personal things about his life and that he had considered ending his own life. And so we had a really intimate moment, me and this practical stranger there that I had just prayed for. And I felt like I had a special moment where I got to just tell him, God only showed me these things because he loves you. And your life is valuable and you have meaning aside from your circumstance and from what you go through and what you have faced as of late. This dark cloud that's around you is actually not the Lord. And he was so very angry with the Lord. He was so mad at the Lord, and his anger was directed at the wrong person. It was very, he had a backwards view of like, he thought God, like Satan was God, and like all these things that were happening to him, right?
The filter.
Where he thought that was God's doing. And so I got just a moment in time to talk to him about who God is and what he's done and how wonderful he is. And so we kept in contact for like 6 months. My husband was involved. He would come over for dinner and we'd pray for him and stuff like that. And so that was really neat. But that was that season of time. But yeah, that all happened because of dreams.
I love that you saw him today.
Yeah, today.
On the very day that we're talking about all this.
I know it.
It's so redemptive.
Yeah. This has been years ago as well. I think 2019 is when I had those about him and saw him or whatever. So
it's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's neat.
Wow.
It's really neat. Have I? Is that enough? I mean, they're never ending, so they really are never ending.
I think it's brilliant, to be honest.
It is.
It's so sweet how the very thing that you are geared in will always bring redemption. And I'm going to keep going back to that because I think it's so brilliant about knowing the things that you're gifted in. And by gifted, I mean the very things that the Lord has put within you, like the way that you connect with him, the way that you connect with people. Knowing those things are so incredibly important. Because that's how we redeem stuff. That's how we redeem the world. I think that's how the new heaven and the new earth, which we won't have to go down that rabbit hole, but
not yet.
I think that's how this thing rolls.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have a question for you. What is the weirdest story that you have? Can you think of one?
I thought you might ask this. Okay, so no, I'm not prepared for that. The weirdest story that I have. I don't know. I mean, I feel like these are weird. Are these not? I'm sure there are some things like, I mean, as far as like what I dream, I feel like that's pretty strange telling people I had a dream about you. I mean, you don't know me, but.
Okay, have you ever time traveled?
Okay, so Marlia, you already know. So I have not until recently.
Well,
about a week ago, I had a dream. I feel like Martin Luther King, I had a dream that and this has never happened, but I had a dream that I was in 2018. I believe it was 2018. And I was looking around and suddenly it occurred to me, I'm in the year 2018. And so I started like saying it out loud. I was like, I'm a time traveler. I'm time traveling. Like, I just having this revelation in the dream, I'm from the future.
Oh yeah.
And people walking by and seeing people, just crowds of people. And I was telling them, I'm from the future. No, I'm time traveling right now. I went back in time. And they were looking at me like, okay, like as if someone would actually, like if you went outside and was saying that, people would just be like, you're a little cuckoo. Have a good day. So I was experiencing that in my dream. And then it occurred to me, I needed to warn them about COVID-19. So I started telling people, listen, there's going to be an epidemic. There's going to be a virus that's released or that we're going to see. It's a new virus. We haven't seen it before, but it's coming in 2020. So I started telling them that. And when I started talking about this epidemic, it was almost like, how an animal will perk their ears up, like they're listening.
Yeah.
They hear you. People were behaving that way. They weren't listening to me at all until I started talking about the virus. And they would like turn and like actually listen. like not like completely enthralled, but they were listening.
Yeah.
And I was like, but listen, there's going to be a great manipulation that comes alongside this. There's going to be a lot of fear that's planted inside of the people. And so I started warning them about the manipulative side of what was about to happen and not to listen and don't be afraid. And I even said, not as many people are going to die as they say.
Yeah.
It's not going to be what you think.
Hmm.
And then from there, I saw my brother. And in this year, 2018, he was just, he's in a different place now spiritually. He's in some hard testing. He's in a battle now currently as this podcast airs. But in 2018, he's just on fire. Like he's praying for people everywhere, left and right, seeing healing, and miraculous things are happening all around him. He's walking in faith and just this mighty man of God. And he still is. He's still that. But he's facing trials now. But in the dream, I saw him on fire and full of joy and like glowing. And it was him that I remember. And he was just kind of going past me like he couldn't really see me, as if I was in another realm. And he couldn't really see me or hear me very well. But I was like, Garrett. And I was warning him. I said, this is coming to pass. I said, this is going to come. And you have to be ready, this hard testing. And I said, you're going to become discouraged. And I said, you're going to start listening to country music.
Oh, no.
I said, you're going to start listening to country music.
That poor guy.
And I said, but it's going to be self-centered and selfish. And I said, your perspective will be changed. And you're going to become discouraged and even depressed. And I said, you have to look out. I said, you have to stay in the Word. Stay in the Word. And I was just warning my brother, calling out to him. But it's like he couldn't even hear me. And I saw my mom kind of behind him in the distance. And she sat down and she started crying because she could see me and hear me. And it's like she knew what I was saying, and what I was saying was true. So I called my brother after that dream. I had it just a couple weeks ago, or maybe even a week ago. And he was like, that's crazy that you say that. He said, especially the country music part. He said, because about 2 years ago, I started listening to country music. So we had a laugh there. But yeah, that was when I time traveled.
That means you definitely time traveled.
Oh, yeah. Well, have you ever gone on like missions? Like changed anything in your dreams? Like where you're conscious of like, I'm here to do something. Like
flip the script.
Like something militant, yeah.
There is one that comes to mind. I don't know if this is what you mean. But I was in this place where I saw this religious leader of some sort, like a minister, that I didn't recognize. He was no one that I know in real life. I didn't recognize him, but it was the back of him. And I remember there was division and dissension. There was something going on within the body of the leaders at the specific church, if you will.
Yeah.
So I just remember seeing him. And then he turned around to face me and he became a demonic being. He grew, became a literal giant and shape-shifted and was ready to kill me. And at first I was kind of behind a table, you know, and he was on the other side of the table and I was kind of shimming back and forth like, oh, he can't get me if I just stay behind this table. And then something bizarre happened. I stepped around the table on purpose. I opened up my arms wide, almost like Jesus on the cross. And I said, I love you. I said, come kill me if you want, but I love you. I love you. I love you. And then, you know, things shifted and I don't really remember how it ended, but I didn't die in the dream. But I do remember that, at least for me, that was pretty transformative. The shifting from fear to complete love, like perfect love casts out fear.
Oh, yeah.
And that thing in that man, I believe, was casted out in that dream. So.
Well, even you like to surrender and like, come on, like that's like absence of fear to me, completely. Wow.
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
I love it.
I saw Jesus, and this was my favorite dream ever. I'll share this one if that's okay.
Oh yeah.
I saw Jesus in a dream. I've seen him a couple of times, actually, with one of my friends that has died. I've seen her in dreams, so that's something bizarre. I would say that's pretty weird, right? She died when I was 15, 16. I still see her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was 15.
Let's talk about that one too.
Yeah.
Let's go into that.
Yeah, okay.
I want both of those.
Okay, so we'll start with that. So one of my best friends was killed in a car accident. I was not yet 16. I think I just had my learner's permit, but I saw her that night. We went to the fair. There was a dance. It was great. She was riding in a vehicle, and the drivers of the vehicle were very young. She was in the center and the back. I don't know if she was buckled or not, but the driver, the young girl, swerved to not hit a possum. on the road. It was completely, she flipped the vehicle. It was really awful. And there were 4 other passengers that were okay, but she died of internal bleeding. And I just remember that night, and it was just awful, So that was some trauma that I experienced I was still a child, I would say, with some of my other friends. And we had a couple of people in my class die like that, like in car accidents. And so it was a big deal in a small school.
Yeah.
I went to a very small school. It was very impactful. But I would continue to see her in dreams. And in many dreams I've had about her, it's like, I knew you didn't die. It was like, I knew you were alive. I knew. It was almost like they faked it.
Yeah.
Like, this was all fake. You've been alive this whole time and you're fine.
Yeah.
And it's just this warm, smiling, like, embrace, or, it's like, you're okay. Like in one, I saw her in like a heavenly place. It was like this church thing, but it was in our old gym, our high school gym, and she was there. And I was watching, and it was just this beautiful worship. And I saw her, and I'm like, she's really okay. Like to me, I'm like, oh, I just get to see her and communicate with her sometimes. And she doesn't tell me anything, really. I don't remember her ever even speaking to me. Other than one time when we embraced and said something like, I love you. It's so good to see you, just some greeting like that. But I remember one where she was in that dream, my friend Megan, who passed away. I saw her and we embraced. And I'm like, oh, it's good to see you. You're alive. And then I looked into the night sky and I saw these stars moving in a pattern, in a specific pattern. And I was like, do you see that? And I stopped paying attention to her or anyone else. And I was like, look. And I focused in on one star and I was like, it's the Lord. It's the Lord. Do you see the Lord? And, then I would wake up. But yeah, I saw him. I believe it was really him. He's the bright morning star with her. But then this next one, I'll tell you, it came on the back end of me convincing myself that I knew the Lord was coming back at a certain date. Like, I was like, I know when he's coming. I had completely convinced myself it is this day. I don't know what time, but it's going to be this day. And so I will tell y'all, if you ever just want to get jazzed up and get really tight with Jesus, you can just pretend like you know when he's coming back and you get tight. You know what I mean? It was like the best time of my life, like feeling like he's coming. and he is, but after he didn't that day.
Maybe just not the way you thought.
Not the way I thought. After he didn't that day, this was years ago, I was like, Lord, I'm okay. I said, but I've so enjoyed this. How do I keep this sense of urgency and excitement about you and about your coming? Like, how do I keep on with this? And then I went to sleep. And I had the best dream of my life. And I wrote it all down, and I'm sure if I found it, I'd have more descriptors, but this is what I remember about that dream. I was laying in bed next to my husband, but our room was different. And in our room, you can just imagine this great semicircle around us, but they were all windows. The semicircle was all huge glass windows around us. And RJ, my husband, said, what do you think it's going to be like when Jesus comes back? And he was kind of teasing me because he wasn't on board with me when I was like, no, he's coming. He was not convinced. And so in my dream, he was kind of teasing me like, what do you really think? And
we always need good people in our lives to keep us grounded.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked towards him and past him and I said, oh, I think it's going to be like that. And I pointed just past him and it was this huge, great cloud out of the window. And we were in the sky, by the way. We were like up elevated in the sky. And I said, I think it's going to be like that. And I saw this cloud and I pointed at it. And all of a sudden I sat up and the sky swept with light 3 times from left to right. So it was like dark and like dark outside. You can imagine a night sky. I saw this cloud though. And when the light shifted across almost like a rainbow, the way it swept from left to right, I could see everything. Like I could still see the stars, even though it was like daytime. Like every time it would sweep, it was like daytime. It was bright 3 times. And then we were like, what? So we stood up on that bed and we held hands. And I had a moment where I was like, what about Elijah? And the Lord in my mind said, no, I have him. And so I completely didn't even think about my son, Elijah, at the time. And then I looked and I just took off running. I let go of my husband's hand. I took off running. I jumped off the bed and out the window didn't break or anything. I just jumped out into the sky, no fear at all. I saw the Lord. He was a star very far away that I saw. And I yelled, Jesus! And I just started running towards him. And I flew into the sky. And I saw his form. It wasn't a star anymore. I saw his body. I couldn't see like the way his face looked, but I saw his body, and he was getting closer and larger as he got closer. This is the most amazing part of it, though. From my head to my toes, I can't describe it other than complete euphoria.
Yeah.
The way I felt, like my body, I still had a body, but it was like there was no weight.
Yeah.
There was no heaviness to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it also wasn't a scary like gravity issue either. It was like I was completely tingling, but not in a like your leg fell asleep way. And
it's like a lightness.
it was like I was so light and but so free from any weight and burden. I was completely full of joy and like literal light. And I've never felt so good in my life, like still to this day. And that's how the dream ended. And the great thing about it is I woke up and it still was on me, all over me. It was all over me. And I was awake in our bedroom in the dark, and I just had my eyes open, and I was like, and I just laid there and I felt it. And then it melted off of me from my head to my toes. And I still remember how it was coming off, that feeling coming off of me. I could still feel it like in my thighs. And I was like, don't leave.
Wow.
But yeah, that was so neat.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah,
Like,
I would say so.
how are you going to come back? What does that look like, you coming back?
Well, my question really for him was, how do I keep on this way?
Oh,
it wasn't
yeah.
what's it going to look like or how's it going to be.
Yeah.
It was, how do I keep on? And he was like, just keep your eyes on me and keep being like a child. I think he loves that about me.
Yeah.
In my faith, and even if it seems silly, just stay like a child and run to me, and don't let the worries even catch me or slow me down. You know, about even my children.
I think the cares of the world is what makes people heavy. It's like the things that create the burdens, and it's like, man, when you just connect to the Lord in all things and in all ways, you stay lightless. You stay above the earth.
Yeah.
Because you were in the clouds, you know? You're off of this carnal plane.
Yeah.
Which I think carnality is what's heavy too, you know?
Well, and fear. I think fear is so heavy. There was no fear. Like I remember waking up and being like, why wasn't I even afraid to jump into space?
Yeah.
You know, like out of
running.
There was no fear at all. Like when I saw him, I was like, I couldn't even be afraid. I knew he was there. So that was probably my favorite one.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
But,
yeah. That's funny. And in his face, he's been in my dreams. Usually he's next to me and I can't ever see his face, but he's wearing white most of the time. And I can't ever see his face.
Yeah.
But he's like walking me around or something, you know, or driving a car. He's driven me around before. But his face is usually like covered. Or I don't know. You can't see it.
Yeah, my mom had a dream that she saw Jesus. She was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma when I was like 8. And it was really bad. Like it was... they didn't diagnose her as terminal, but she was on medication. It was pretty bad. And she was pretty much ready to go. She felt so bad. She was so sick, and, you know, medicine made her feel worse. And anyway, one night she had a dream that she saw the face of Jesus, and that was just it. But it was completely like the sunshine. Like his face was like the sun. And when she woke up, she was like, I knew I was healed. And she was healed, and she's still alive today.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just like James's brother.
Yeah.
His brother saw something very similar and healed him of leukemia.
Wow.
I don't want to butcher the story. I'll let him tell it one day, but same situation.
Same thing. Saw the light.
So beautiful.
Swallowed it up.
Pulled it out of him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got a cool story.
Wow.
We'll have him on eventually.
I'd love to hear that. But yeah, like I'd say press into dreams if that's something that's interesting to you. I've even had dreams like about, like there was this guy that worked at the sandwich store that I loved to go to, and he was like the owner at the time or general manager or whatever. But I didn't know he was watching me for years, but the Lord had been growing me in just like the quality of who I am as a person. And I guess that guy, I was very friendly with him and the workers and was always really nice, but I also would like open doors for people, especially if they were disabled or something. And, you know, just little things like that he saw me do over time. And I know he did because he would come up to me after and give me like a free sandwich coupon. Like, I saw what you did, you know? Well, anyway, I just thought, well, he's just a nice guy. Well, I had a dream about him one time, and I came into the store and I was like, hey, man, this might sound crazy, but I had this dream about you. And he just started weeping behind the sandwich line. He's like 45, 50 years old, grown man. And he told me something like, I've been watching you, and I've totally decided against this whole Christianity thing because of people around here, people in our area. They're a certain way, and he had just decided in his mind he didn't want anything to do with that. But his wife, he said, but my wife and my children have been praying for me, and they have been starting to go to a church, or like I could tell he was saying they're changing, but he was like, I'm not into this. I've seen people like that. I'm not into it. He said, but I've seen you. You stick out in my mind. I've seen the way you act with people and the way you treat people. And you're telling me this dream, and it's accurate. It was about his knee and an injury, like running injury, and he used to run. And so it was just accurate for him at that time. And he just was crying. And so anyway, little things like that throughout the day. I mean, I was just getting a sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think it's so neat how, God does speak to me in other ways, just, in my mind or whatever. But this has been the most precious way because it's been so, I don't know, tangible and so persistent. And I always sleep.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it always comes.
Yeah.
It's the most beautiful way, I think, that has intertwined the spirit realm and the natural realm. Like, you have such practical things that have been lived out through it. I'm going to just say this because one thing I so value about you is that you are so present.
Yeah.
You are the most present person like I've ever met. You walk into a space and it's like, I know that Sarah's going to acknowledge me.
Yeah.
Like you have a way about doing that with people that it literally inspires me to be even more present instead of like stuck in your head.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
You do that. I mean, clearly, look at the stories you've shared.
That's what I was going to say. I've never heard any of your stories before, but I do feel like the Lord is very proud of you and that you are an accurate and responsible representation of his heart
Totally.
to people where you go.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Thank you. Encouragement is always makes me emotional.
Well,
thank you all. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's a privilege, and
this is definitely one of my favorite episodes. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you can guarantee I'll have some more if you ever. I'll be having these dreams till
Sarah's going to have a dream about us tonight.
Yeah,
you know that,
I might.
Right?
Yeah.
I will say this. I probably will. And people that
I love that it's so confident.
Yes.
She's like, yes, and that will happen.
Yeah.
Well,
also, Marlia, you're pregnant. That's what's going to be.
Well, yeah, well, it could be. I've had lots of those. But y'all, I will go to sleep. Like I told Marlia on the phone the other day, I was meeting some opposition, I think, in preparation for coming here. And I actually went.
That's so real.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I went to bed one night and I was like, Lord, I was just frustrated with some things. And I said, Lord, there's something I'm not seeing. Like, I know I can't see something. Like, something's going on because I feel like I'm crazy. Like, show me what I can't see. And then I just jumped in my bed, covered myself up, and went to sleep. And I had a dream not last night, but that night I had a dream. And he showed me exactly what was going on and revealed some things to me. And, when I woke up, I was so humbled and did a lot of crying and praying, and just I was so grateful that now I can see what's been going on. So now I'll be like, I know you're going to tell me. I'm asking you, and you love me, and so I'm going to go to bed now. and like he can tell me when I'm awake too, but I'm often very busy. I'm with my children, and so I don't. Sometimes I can hear him regardless of the noise, but sometimes I really need to be in a quiet place when I'm awake. And so when I'm sleeping, I'm in a quiet place. And it works.
That's a lot of it too, though, the expectation of it. Going to bed like, you're going to show me something.
Yeah, here we go.
We're going to talk.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is going to be our talk.
You're going to
And
show
you
me.
will
like,
honor that.
Which you and I have talked about this. Like, why would the Lord create 1/3 of our life to be asleep?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's because he intentionally allowed us to have carved out time to connect with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
It's like,
and the fact that we're recharged afterwards.
Our conscious mind is gone, but our true spirit is just connecting to God.
Yeah.
And we wake up totally refreshed.
Yeah. I know
It's
it.
good. And
unless you're locked on your device at night.
Yeah, well.
Blue light.
Yeah.
if you ever intercede for somebody, especially, I'd say that's one of the most precious things. He's shown me lots of things about my life or whatever, but if you're ever like interceding for somebody, you're fighting for somebody or contending for another person, ask for dreams about them, and it can be such an encouragement. I mean, you can really see some things differently. God can reveal things to you differently, and even sometimes He just shows me things just so I can pray, and other times it is so I can go out and do something physically or whatever. But it's really neat.
I think that too, we underestimate the weight of our prayers. So like if the Lord's going to show you, I think it's Amos 3:7, I think. It says that the Lord doesn't do anything without revealing it to His prophets. And I'm going to find that because I don't want to butcher that scripture, which I don't believe in titles, I'll be honest. I think it's function more than title.
Yeah,
but
prophecy is to hear from God.
Yeah, to be a prophet is to connect to God, and that all was literally accumulated at the cross.
Yeah.
And, Joel 2 became Acts 2.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely, I agree.
I was
we can do all those things. It's just...
Oh, yeah. But yeah, okay, so Amos 3:7, it says, surely the Lord does nothing unless He reveals His secrets to His servants, the prophets. And it's like the Lord, He's not gonna move and do stuff without letting somebody know. He's like, hey, I want you to be a part of it. I want you to join with me. Anyways, but it's like to underestimate our prayers or like the value of prayer, of what you can connect to and what you can release.
Yeah.
When the Lord shows it, it's like, oh, I've got the power on this thing now. Like I've got the intel.
Yeah. Or even to underestimate the little things, like opening the door for somebody, like the little tiny things. Just like if you have the heart of the Lord, it will come through in whatever you're doing.
And people see it.
Yes.
Totally.
You might not even, I mean, hopefully you're not doing it for that reason, but people see you and they watch you and you may not even know it. Like they could be building your sandwich for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And they're watching you and paying attention to what you're doing and they see Jesus in you. So it's really special.
Yeah.
But yeah. I ask my children this a lot just to remind them, but I'm like, how did God create things in the beginning? Like, how did He do it? Did He like build it? And, they'll like, He said it, He spoke and He created us in His likeness and in His image. And so He created us with some ability to speak things into life.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of what this is, Sarah, I want you to come with me. I want you to see what I want to do, or I'm revealing this to you so that you're better equipped or whatever it looks like. But sometimes it's, I want you to go and speak this into life and watch how this transpires with me. It's just fun. It's like sometimes I just feel like He's like, let's do this for fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like the song I heard on the way over here was about dreams. It was just funny.
It's because the Lord also has fun.
Oh
He
yeah.
is fun.
He has joy above all the brethren. I mean,
absolutely.
The dude is happy.
Yeah.
And He wants us to be happy. He
That
likes
is
us to
one
joke.
of my most favorite traits of His.
Yes.
Really is the joy, the humor,
Yeah.
the happiness. It really is.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Well, Sarah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
I want to have you back.
Yes.
Not going to lie.
I love that.
It was so good. We can go into even more.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And then we can circle back on the dream that she has about us tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll write it down.
Yeah, to be continued.
To be continued.
Thank you for joining us on The Ancient Way. If you like this episode and would like to hear more, drop us a like, share with your friends, your family. If you have any feedback for us, feel free to email us at theancientwaypodcast@gmail.com. Once again, thank you so much for listening to us. We'll see you next time.